Are you a filmmaker or content creator with a vision that demands the best? Then look no further than IPGRentals.com, the ultimate destination for audio, video, lighting, drones, and support gear for your productions. At IPG Rentals, we believe in the power of collaboration. Our gear becomes an extension of your creativity, bringing your vision to life. And with our tagline, Our Gear, Your Vision, we're not just a rental service, we're your production partner. Why choose IPG Rentals, you may ask? Easy. We bring quality, reliability, and an extensive range of top-notch equipment. From industry-standard cameras and audio equipment to state-of-the-art lighting and drones, our gear is meticulously maintained to ensure you get the best results every time. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.ipgrentals.com. Our Gear, Your Vision. Welcome to Media Hub. Oh! Hello and welcome to Media Hub, your trusted source for insights into the world of TV production. I'm your host, Dondi Sanchez, and today we'll be talking about how to build your video production business. Our special guest today is a dear friend of mine who I've known and worked with many times throughout the years. She brings a wealth of experience and knowledge to the table. Our guest today is Stacey Cook. She's an accomplished award-winning producer in the industry. Stacey is not only a seasoned professional, but she's also the owner of S. Cook Productions. For you newcomers looking to break into the field and those aiming to advance their careers in TV production, Stacey's insights and advice will be invaluable. So without further ado, let's jump right in and hear from Stacey about how to navigate and build a successful video production business. Hey, Stace, how you doing?
Morning, Dondi. How's it going?
Good, thanks. Hey, again, I know I said it before, but I just want to thank you for taking the time out. I know, especially off camera, you just told me how many shoots you have going today, so I'm not going to take too much of your time. But I know you, but the viewers don't, so why don't you just let us know a little bit about you?
Yeah,
how you got in the industry and things like that.
Well, first off, thanks for having me. I know everybody's busy this time of year, and you and I spend more time behind the camera than in front of, so
exactly.
Everybody will have to forgive that, but this will be fun. So thanks for having me. So I would say the bug bit me in high school, 20 years later, here we go. High school, we had a closed circuit TV studio that they put up, and they wanted to do the morning announcements from there. And so I started doing them and producing them. And I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do when I grow up. And so now here I am, not grown up yet, but a lot older. Then I went to college for radio TV broadcasting right here in Central Florida, University of Central Florida. That's how it started.
So let me ask you this. How did you actually get to the point of opening your own business? When did you decide? Because, we all went through our steps and we had our path, but when did you decide, I'm going to open up my own video production?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that chose me more than I chose it. So I went to college for, production. Got out, was freelancing as a production coordinator, production manager, for a few years. And then I started getting a lot of, we need more people, there's more going on, you need to hire some people. And so I was like, well, I don't want to lose this work just because, they need more people. So then that's when I started looking into, okay, let's not make this just me. Let's now make this a company, and let's bring in some more people and get some equipment and, form a business and, get a company, and let's start doing that. So I think it was the fear of losing things because I didn't have enough resources and, wasn't big enough to handle everything that was coming this way. So like I said, I didn't set out to be like, I'm going to own a production company. I just, I wanted to produce things. I wanted to be in the industry, but then it decided for me that was the next step. And I'm glad I took it because it's been a wild ride, a fun one though.
How many years were you working as a freelancer before you actually opened up S. Cook Productions?
I want to say about 3.5 from the time I graduated college to the time that I was like, okay, we need to get bigger here. So yeah, about 3.5 years I was on my own, and then I was like, okay, time to incorporate and become a company.
Right. Wow. And did you get some advice from anybody about forming the company and things like that?
I did. I happened to start out right about the same time here in Orlando that the National Entrepreneur Center was starting out, and they help people, start businesses. So, a production company, just like any other business, is a business, and you still have to do the same type of things. You have to incorporate, you have to get an employee identification number, you've got to get some capital behind you. It's just like any other business out there. And so I went to free resources that exist here in town that I think a lot of people don't know about. And they gave me some advice, told me how to get started, told me how to, start a business bank account, how to, get articles of incorporation. And, and I went back to them too over the years saying, okay, time to take the next step. How do I get more insurance? And how do I do this? And they had a lot of answers and a lot of resources. So I would say to people that there's help out there. I think people don't know it exists, but it's there.
That's a very good point. I actually was already in business, let's say, actually with employees when I opened up IPG. I think I was 12, maybe 6 years before I found an organization called SCORE here in town.
Yes. Yeah.
And they were great. They were I actually found them through another friend of mine, through another business group that I was part of other business owners. And the guy was involved with them a lot. He's like, you should check them out. They're free. They'll help you out with certain things. Yeah. And they actually helped me out with marketing.
Yes. I think they fall under the same umbrella. They've got some offices down by Fashion Square Mall, and but yeah, National Entrepreneur Center, SCORE, like it's there. It's resources, and it's mostly free of charge. I mean, there's some workshops and stuff you can go to and you can pay, and they're worthwhile too if you feel like going back to school for a little bit. But yeah, no, there's help out there. A thriving business community is good for everybody, and the city knows that, and so there's programs and stuff there.
Well, that's great. What type of jobs does Esco Productions work on?
Well, that's the exciting part. We do a lot of different things, so it doesn't really ever get boring. In Central Florida, one of the name games in town is the theme park, so we do a lot of theme park stuff. Commercials, we do a lot of still photography, guide maps for them, billboards. A lot of the stuff on I-4 is stuff we've done for the theme parks, which is pretty cool. We also have a government contract, so we do military training videos, some documentaries we've done for the Department of Defense. We work with other companies in industry. We have a hotel contract. We do a lot of hotel commercials, stuff like that. A little bit of everything. We even do pre and post construction videos because there's so much building in Central Florida, and they need to do some drone videos and some ground videos of before and after to keep their board and capital members happy. They need to see progress along the line. So we do a little bit of that too. So yeah, we have our hands in lots of pots, which is fun because you can't put all your eggs in one basket.
And I'm glad you said that because that's what I was going to point out, because you mentioned like 3 or 4 different areas, different arenas that you have that you're working in with people. Yeah. And that's the most important thing. A lot of people think that, oh, well, I have this one client, it keeps me busy and I'll just stick with that.
Yeah, that is an easy trap to fall into. Like, we have a couple clients that are much bigger than all the others. And it would be easy to be like, okay, this falls in our lap, but you have to diversify. And we saw that a lot with the pandemic. Like when one client got slow, like the industry clients, people weren't traveling, they weren't staying in hotels. Other clients got busy because they had,
right,
how-to videos they needed to do and so forth. And schooling became online a lot, and we have also a contract with academia and with some universities, and they were like, well, we need videos now. We're not brick and mortar for the next year, so it's good to diversify because you never know when circumstances are going to happen that's going to slow you down in one area, and if you've got some fallback in another, and and it was fun. We started doing more of stuff we hadn't done before. In the last couple of years when we had to, and now I feel like we're pretty well-rounded and pretty diverse, and there's not too many clients I think that could come to me and be like, we're going to have you do something completely different that you've never done before, because I feel like we're kind of trying it all, which is good. And there's some that are better money than others, and there's some that are easier than others, but I think it's important to have a wide range and a diverse clientele, just because you never know what's going to happen.
Right. And we're going to get into that later because I don't want to jump, because I know the main question people are probably want me to ask is how do you go about getting the clients? But we'll get to that. Well, that just so people know, how long has S Cook Production been around? When did you start?
We fully incorporated in 2007. So I'm aging myself here, but yeah, we've been around. Been around since 2007. I entered the business myself in 2003. So 20 years I've been doing this, and then yeah, like I said, that first 3-4 years was just me, and then we started bringing in some more people.
Yeah, that's cool. And a lot of people have their different ideas of what they consider a successful business. What is your definition of a successful business?
That's a good question, and it's actually something that we kind of just talked about. To me, it is very important to be able to give others work. Like, you know, I feel in Central Florida, we're a good market here. There's a good amount of work for the number of people that do this. But I like to employ people because I think the people that work for me are like me. They see good in this. They have a good time in this. This is something that, you know, they wanted to do for a long time. And, you know, if we can, you know, make some good videos and make some good photos and give people, you know, a good living doing something that they enjoy, that makes me happy. So in the beginning, it was all about me. But as I grew and brought some people in, to me, it becomes, you know, more important that I got a lot of people that are in a job that they enjoy and, you know, making good money, making a living. And so I like that. I like to kind of spread this umbrella of production that I've always enjoyed, because I know there's people that are just like me. So
that's awesome. Well, how many people do you have on staff?
So we have 96 employees total. They're not all full-time. I've got 4 full-time employees, and then everybody else is contract or part-time or gig employees. But yeah, there's 96 people that are on the S Cook Productions roster as of now. But, you know, we ramp up and down with how busy it is, and it's busy right now. So probably by the end of the week, we might have a couple more.
That's awesome. Just so people know, like, how many jobs did you say you had today?
There's 3 shoots going on today. Yeah.
Okay, and right now we're in the middle of the month. And you said by the end of the month you had how many more shoots?
We have 17 more between now and the end of the month. I am not at everyone personally, obviously. I can't do that. I haven't figured out that yet to multiply myself. But this is a busy time of the year for sure. It's not always this busy, but we do stay pretty steady. And, you know, like I said earlier, Central Florida is a really, really good market. And I feel like it's a little bit of overflow for, like, you know, Atlanta and LA and New York and Chicago. People are like, okay, well, what's next? Let's go to Central Florida. So, so it's pretty busy, which is good.
Which is good to know, because a lot of people, they fall into the presumption that, oh, well, the tax incentives aren't good in Central Florida, blah, blah, blah. But there is still enough work for all the production companies that are out here to stay busy.
I feel that there is, you know, and we do a lot of work out in California. We do a little in New York, little in Atlanta, you know, which is Atlanta's kind of the new Hollywood East.
Right.
But I feel like there's a good balance here. I mean, we're not oversaturated with folks where it can become a little dog eat dog. Like, I do work in LA and New York, and, you know, if somebody can't take a job, they will not pass along the name of someone else because they're in fear of losing that work in the future. I don't feel like we're like that here. I think we all, like, if I can't, you know, do a job because I don't have the bandwidth, or, you know, most of my crew is going to be out of town or whatever, I will pass it along to other companies, and they do that for me too. So I really feel like we're fortunate, because it's not like that everywhere, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I definitely know what you mean. And you said you had 4 on staff, let's just call them W-2 employees, and then the rest are subcontractors, freelancers. How do you, like, for me, what I do when we have multiple jobs in a week, what I do is I will at least have one staff representative of IPG on a job. That's what I'll try to do. And if we have more than that, then I just like you, we have our set freelancers, subcontractors that we've had a relationship for 20 plus years. You know, the ones that you could trust, they'll represent you well, things like that. Do you do the same thing? Like, how do you spread your team?
I certainly try to do that. It's not always, you know, possible, just because the you know, it's feast or famine. You know, there might be a week where there's no jobs, and then there might be a day where there's 5. So it's not always possible to do that. but I try to do that. And, there are some days where I'm just running around checking in on different, shoots, which
Yeah.
I saw you last week on a shoot.
Exactly.
Because I
I
popped in.
was working for you.
Yes, you were, and I popped in. And sometimes that's as much as I can do just because of the magnitude. But I definitely have a good core group of people who are, used to doing that and can produce and can run stuff. And they know that I am a phone call away. If they get stuck or need anything or something out of the ordinary happens, and there's always fires to put out and so forth. But yes, that's good. That's good to do, and I'm glad that you do that as well, because it's our reputation that's out there. So
yeah, and that's everything for me. That's everything. Reputation's everything. That's all we have at the end of the day. It doesn't matter, especially for our clients. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this: so the ones that are staff, how do you determine who you bring on staff and who you use as a freelancer?
So, the staff jobs are more of like coordination jobs, and they're, they become kind of accounts payable and accounting because we have, obviously so much of that going on. But all of my staff jobs have been folks that freelanced, with me for a while. And they became the go-to people that I were using all the time, and they were getting full-time hours. And I was like, this just makes sense for both of us. Why don't you just work in this office right next door to me here? And we'll, and so,
right.
So that's how that happened. And actually, my right-hand man that I have right now, Michelle, right-hand girl, actually, she was freelancing for me full-time for like 3 months when my old office coordinator gave me her notice, and Michelle was in the office that day, and I turned to her and I was like, you want her job? Because she had been here for 3 months and she was doing such a great job, and like I was losing my old assistant, and she happened to be here, and so that's how that worked out, and it was great. This business is a lot of being at the right place at the right time. It certainly is.
100%. And let me tell you, she killed it.
Goes down. So yeah, Michelle's awesome.
I hear you. No, she killed it the other day. She was working her butt off, but she killed it.
Yeah. She's a good face representing this company. She takes ownership of it, and I like it. And that's important too. You've got somebody that's representing you. They have to feel like it's theirs too. But you got to make them feel like it's theirs. I mean, you got to treat them good, and there's lots of opportunities. People are not going to stick with you if you don't show them some loyalty back.
Right, and that's actually that brings us to my next question. So, what characteristics do you look for when hiring people to work with your company, whether staff or freelance? Right.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I do love either a schooling or production background. It's not 100% necessary. But having that piece of paper from a school that gives you a communication degree or a production degree or something certainly is helpful, especially when you get 10 resumes on your desk in a day. There's got to be a way to differentiate yourself from other people, so that is helpful. And then a lot of people come from a production background, maybe in another state, or maybe they were PAing in their little town and nowhere, Ohio or whatever, and they moved here, and so there's a lot of people out there that have been bitten by that bug as well. And so that's helpful because, they at least know their way around a set. So have we started from scratch with people just because I like their personality and they were friendly and they, say we were doing a job at Disney and they love Disney and they know everything about Disney and they're interested in this? Yeah, let's give them a shot, as a shadow or an intern or a production assistant. So they don't always come from a production background, but there's usually some kind of something there that in the past makes them fit into this business, and just about everybody starts as a production assistant or intern. I've had a couple college interns that will just intern here for the summer for college credit, and then by the fall I'm like, well, give me your availability, we're gonna put you on some jobs and have you be a production assistant. And more often than not, they really enjoy it, and it's a career path they want to follow.
And when let's say you're trying them out as a PA, and as you're looking at them, are you looking for certain things in them to see, is this one that I'm going to keep on my team long term?
Yes. It's funny you say that, because just the shoot we were on last week where I showed up, we had a new gentleman working kind of as a media manager. I didn't know him. He was recommended by someone else. And I showed up, and there was not anything for him to do in his job that, at that moment. And he was holding an umbrella over the client. And I was like, he
Yep.
just, that's the first thing I saw, and it impressed me. I was like, he doesn't have anything to do right now for what he's doing, so he's jumping in and he's, helping where is needed. So, he's somebody that I'm gonna, use more. And he was just recommended to me by someone, and I think it's as easy as that. Help out where you can. Sometimes other people are overloaded, and we're at the moment not, doing anything pressing. So that is, to me, one of the most important qualities. Just be eager to learn. Like I used to when I was in high school, and we were doing our morning announcements from TV at night. I would go knock on doors of news stations and be like, can I watch, or can I sit in the control room? And sometimes they said, no, get out of here, you bum. And sometimes they said, sure. And so
Right.
I think that folks that have that same kind of appetite reminds me of what I was like 20-25 years ago. And I have made a good life in this business, and, I still have a good time, and, I want other people to experience that too, if that's what they want to do. So yeah, I look for those kind of, qualities.
Yeah, no, it's super important to look at those qualities, and people don't realize how much people that hire or have their own companies are looking at that or pay attention to that. We're not saying anything, but we're definitely looking, and we're definitely making point, okay, this one's a keeper, this one's not a keeper. Because if you're like, oh, that's not my job title, or that's not in my job description, yeah, okay, that one's not going to work. Or, you're just sitting around waiting for somebody to tell you to do something. It's the little things,
It is. And,
always be a hustler.
And be nice and be kind. I mean, we've all heard horror stories coming out of Hollywood, people get too big for their britches, and there's no need to be a jerk to anyone. This is a stressful job, and lots of times we're going to be running around, and like I said, fires are going to happen. We're going to have to put them out. It's hot out there. We work in Central Florida. The heat gets to people. They get irritable. But just there's no reason to be a jerk to anyone. And and so we look for that too. Like I don't allow too many strikes if people are being mean, because there's no use for it. So
right. No, you're absolutely right. This industry is 80% attitude and 20% on what you do. Because if you have a great attitude and you're teachable, people will want to pour into you. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. Well, I would say 80% attitude, 18% know-how, and 2% being in the right place at the right time. Because one of my biggest contracts I got because I sat near a gentleman who worked at the Department of Defense at a Star Trek convention, and we started talking about work in between, guests coming out. And I ended up getting, a DoD contract with his help that lasted for 11 years, because they kept doing another option year, another option. And it was because I sat near this guy at a Star Trek convention. And he said, you do what? We're getting ready to bid on some stuff that we need some videos, So
that's amazing.
So always be out there, looking for that opportunity, and carry business cards. I have business cards in my back pocket 24/7. Every now and then my, husband will put his hand and he'll be like, oh, that's business cards, because they're always in there. You never know when you're going to need them. And I have pulled them out at the oddest places, but it helps.
That's so funny, because I have to learn to do that, because I am the worst person on carrying business. So many people ask me about business cards, and I'm like,
Yeah, but you're a little bit different because you carry a big camera around, and I don't. So,
I know, but you'd be surprised how many people ask for your card. Still,
I give out, and I know, virtual cards, and I have one of those, and we're in a little bit of a different era, but business cards still, you'll never find me without them. I've given them out in restrooms before, so you never know when you're going to need.
Excuse me.
Well, yeah, somebody's on the phone in front of the mirror, and she's like, yeah, well, we're going to get this marketed, and we're going to have to find an advertising, and I'm like, excuse me, I'm Stacey, here's a card. And
that's so cool.
So 10% of the time you get a call back, but that's 10% of the time. So
that's right. Hey, you only need the one, right?
That's
you
right.
need the 1%. Yep. All right. So, what advice would you give to someone who wants to start their own production company? What steps should they take?
So I would say, going back to, what we talked about at the beginning, as far as it's a business, just like, any other company. So you need to do the things that you would have to do to start a company. Make sure that, you're going to be able to finance it. Production, I think we're a little bit fortunate than other companies, because you don't have a whole lot of capital to start out, unless you're going to start a gear business or something. But you don't have to have a whole lot, but you have to have a little. You got to have a space to work out of. And that could be in your home office. I mean, a lot of folks do that. I did it for many years. But have those things that you would need for any business. Then get yourself, some help, like we talked about earlier, SCORE, or, National Entrepreneur Center, or whatever state you live in. I'm sure they have, a similar program. Get yourself incorporated, insurance. Insurance is huge. Knock on wood. I've never had to use it, but I have a ton of it, because the minute you don't have it is when you're going to need, something like that. So get all the things ready to protect you. Make sure you kind of have a path forward, and then start working on stuff that's production specific. Do I want to have any equipment? Do I want to, talk to people and let them know I've got this company? Can you work for me? Or, will you be available to freelance? I highly recommend freelancing at the beginning, because, payroll is not inexpensive. And, having someone rely on you for, healthcare or a paycheck every week is a lot of stress when you're first starting out. So I certainly would say start out with, freelancers, ones that you can contract per job, because then basically the job's paying for them. Which is the difference between a successful relationship in a company or not. I've seen production companies fail because they have too many people on payroll, and, business is not busy all the time. So, that would be a recommendation. Certainly when you get more established and you see the need for, full-time folk, or even part-time, W-2 folk, you can take that step then. But I didn't have any, real employees for many years. They were just contractors, and I would definitely recommend that.
Yeah, same with me. I opened up IPG in 2005, but I didn't have my first real employee W-2 until 2012.
Yeah.
And that was me actually being part of another business group that I put together, being surrounded myself with other business owners in all different types of industries, not just TV. And I read a book called EntreLeadership by Dave Ramsey. And they actually pushed me to go, because I was fearful about it. I was fearful about hiring my first employee, because I didn't want to be a failure and be like, oh, I can't afford you anymore in 6 months and let him go, because I'm not that type of person.
And it's not good for them either, if they're expecting something. So like, contract employees at the beginning, certainly they understand the relationship. This is when you have work, you'll give it to me and I'll do a good job, and then you'll give me more, but you're not going to get a paycheck every single week. So there's that. And it's funny you bring up Dave Ramsey, because I didn't read that book, but I watched a lot of his clips when I was starting out. Like, the man knows what he's talking about. So I'm with you on that one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing is, like, I think if you're thinking about opening up your own video production company, make sure you have some type of business sense, not just creative.
Right. Yeah.
You got to have the business sense. And if you don't, learn watch some YouTube videos, take a class, do something.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes, it is a business first and foremost. Nowadays, now that we've grown and gotten, bigger, I spend more time in the office than on set. And, that's not a place that I always thought I would be. I certainly like to go out on set and, get my hands dirty, but there's just so much to do behind the scenes. That you're gonna be an office employee if you're running a business, no matter what. It's great if you can, get out and do other things and keep your other skill sets up, but you're going to spend a lot of time behind a computer and on a phone and so forth. That's just,
especially in the beginning, you're just changing hats. You're just constantly changing. You're like, oh, now I'll be the, I mean, you even have the janitor hat on sometimes, depending for your office. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're doing everything. So let me ask you this. How about branding? How important is it to brand your company? What do you give us examples of things you do?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that came later. It was not something that was on my radar at the beginning. And, until I heard my name being mentioned and I heard S. Cook Productions, and I'm like, all right, this is for real now. And, marketing and branding, go hand in hand. And it's simple stuff. Like I've got van magnets that I put on all our vehicles, with our logo, S. Cook Productions. And I have had people come up to me at the airport and be like, if they were picking me up or if they had my name or whatever, and they're like, are you, Stacey Cook from S. Cook Productions? Yes. And they're like, I saw one of your vehicles in town. Like, I've had that happen a couple times. Like, it's just the craziest, little things. But, get a logo. I got my logo made by a graphic designer maybe 15 years ago. And then I copyrighted that logo, and then, then that's going to be associated with you. So, so if you've got something like that, that's great, because then you could start, slapping it everywhere, wherever they'll let you. But yeah, branding and marketing kind of go hand in hand. It's something that you're going to have to do eventually. And, I found that out. There's although this is a good market, there's still competition out there. So you want to be able to have your name known.
Right. And especially in the beginning, you'll be doing a lot of guerrilla marketing, like that costs no money, that's free.
Yeah.
And then as you grow, you'll put more money into it. Like for us, the biggest, I've tried everything. I've tried radio, I've tried print, I've tried some commercials. And the biggest one for us that works the most is SEO, believe it or not. So many people find us online, especially international companies that come in and things like that. It's all online.
Yeah. And you and I, we started about the same time, and things are changing for sure. Like, I mean, the industry is changing. Like social media didn't exist when we first started. Like, absolutely, it came a few years later, and it's kind of taken over. So yeah, that is a big thing too. But there's stuff that I did 20 years ago that I still do, and it still works. Like if I'm at like a little league game and they're selling like, here's our brochure or our pamphlet for the season, $100 for, an ad inside our brochure that, all the soccer moms are going to get or whatever. I did that 20 years ago. I'm still doing it, and I still get calls from that. So I'd say, stuff is little, easy, simple stuff. Because a lot of times that, those hometown people are just flipping through, like church. Right. I put advertisements in my bulletin at church. Because, these are people that are going to look at this bulletin every Sunday, and they might have a business, and they might be like, I need video for my business. And, sometimes that works just as good as a really expensive TV ad.
Absolutely. You get more return on your investment because they don't cost nowhere near as much.
That's right. For sure.
How about selling your services? What are some effective strategies in marketing and promoting your services in the television industry and film industry?
Yeah, like, again, diversifying because things change. I mean, for many, when I first started out, I was doing primarily still photos. And then I started doing a little bit more video. And now, like I said, you got to change with the times. We do a ton of social media stuff. Companies will hire us to do 1 minute like sizzle videos that they're going to showcase on their Instagram. This is not anything that I would have even imagined 20 years ago. But it's such a big part of the business too. So I would say, being able to, learn and change with the times. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier about diversifying clients, diversify product too. Like if there's something you can do, why not do it? Like if it's related to what you've done in the past and there's an appetite for it out there, why not give it a try? And, we started out just doing a little bit of that, and it has become, big business. So don't be married to any one thing. Be willing to, move around a little, especially here. Like, out in LA, they've got people that do one job, and that they've got the market for that out there because it's hot. Here we're a little bit more jack of all trades, which has served me well because, I can jump in last minute and do something, that's not my job. And I like people that can do that too. And that goes with, different types of products too. Like, diversifying as much as you can because people want different things, and we've done, live streaming. That's not anything that I thought that I would do, but clients have called who have done other stuff with me, and they're like, hey, we want to put on an event and live stream it. Can you do this? And yeah, I've got people that can do that. Why not? Let's do that too. So that's been my philosophy. I don't know that everybody would agree with that, but it has worked well for us.
No, I think you have to do those type of things because it also fills in lulls when other things are down and out or just not that busy. Like for us, aerials might kick in, rentals might kick in, live web streaming. Like we actually got into live web streaming before the pandemic. We just happened to start it, and it just we had a head start. So it was a blessing, to do that. But having a lot of different things in your company, not only does it diversify you and you can take it a lot more different projects, but it helps you. It helps grow your business because you have so many things to offer, and it also differentiates you from other production companies. Which was my next question is, how do you differentiate yourself from your competitors and highlight your unique value proposition?
Yeah, and I think we just touched on that a little. Being able
Yep.
to do different things, being able to jump into new things. Warn them. This is the first time I'm doing that. I've got the people and I've got the equipment. We can do this. I'm going to give you a good price. This is the first time. Are you okay with that? Most of the time it turns out great, and then it's something that we know we can do. But there's always going to be a first time to do something, and so you have to not be afraid to take that step if you reasonably think you can do it. Now obviously, if you don't have the bandwidth, or you don't have the people, or you don't have the equipment, or you don't have the money, do not bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah.
I think that's a pitfall that's easy to get into too, because you want to please everyone all the time, but putting out a bad product doesn't serve anyone, especially you in the future. So I would certainly say know your limits and your skill sets. We all have them. So that is important. But yeah, there's competition out there, and being able to do more things than other people, and do them a little bit differently, will keep them coming back. We strive for time and budget, because that's so important for projects to end on time and on budget. Like, a lot of people cannot promise that, and I can count on one hand in 20 years the amount of times we went way over budget or something like that. I mean, it does happen. Things happen, rain, hurricanes, so forth. But if you've got a pretty good understanding of what's expected of you and what you're going to deliver, and you can do that successfully, they're going to come back to you. And word of mouth is so important. And that's why, like I said, that's why I like to hop on set and, talk with the clients, and, give them a little face to face. And, it's just word of mouth is so important. I mean, yes, all the advertising we talked about is important, but really more work comes from being recommended than anything else, at least for me. I
No,
hear more of,
absolutely.
I got your name from, or I saw something you did there,
Right.
more than the $5,000 radio spot I just did, so
Right.
certainly. And they're only going to recommend you if you've impressed them in some fashion. So
Yeah. No, same with us. Like 90% of our work is word of mouth.
yeah,
90% of
yeah,
it.
yep,
I can say our marketing budget, or not our budget, but what we spend is minimal,
yeah.
because it's
Yeah, no,
more.
it's so true. It's so true. And if you do a good job, that will spread. And with clients too, like I had a client that I worked with in academia. I was doing a lot of, he was the social media coordinator for his college. And so we did a lot of spots for them for college. And then he moved and started being an advertising manager for an airline, a major airline. And he remembered us, and he called, and he's like, "Do you remember me from 2 years ago? We did this." I said, "Of course I remembered you. We hung out on set. We, talked." And he's like, we'd like you to do some maintenance videos for us that we need to, put out, and, for our mechanics and so forth." And we did it. And it was a great contract, and it came from a guy that I'd worked with a couple of years earlier in a completely different, arena. He came from,
Right.
school to the airline industry, but and that has happened a couple of times. So it's just impress people. You never know where they're going to be, where they're going to move. So
I'm going to tell you a true story. We landed a very big job and a client long term now, because they were there doing a PR portion of the set of the shoot, and we were doing the actual production part. And when she saw us work and what we delivered, when a big job came in for her, she's like, "I want Dondi's crew to do it." So it's, again, you never know who's watching you.
yeah,
And I tell my crew the
absolutely.
same thing, is like, we never know who's watching us. We always got to be on our game all the time.
Yes. Yes, for sure. And that never changes. Like, like I
Yeah.
said, when I pop on set, do I notice everybody's all of a sudden looking busy and straightening up a little? Yes, but I'm doing the same, because the clients are there, and the strategy
Right.
partners are there, and the people that hired me are there. So I'm also doing what those guys are doing, looking good and
Absolutely.
impressing people, and just making sure that you are remembered for doing a good job.
So now going to the main question everybody wants to hear. How does Stacey from S-Cook Productions find clients?
Again, I'm gonna go lean on this word of mouth thing. It is so important.
So let's go,
Yes, you got
because we know that, but let's go back to the beginning then. Because now you're
okay.
already established, people know who you are, but what about in the beginning?
In the beginning. Okay, so I did a lot of stuff in college for, volunteer stuff. Um, I guess that's something we haven't talked about, working for free at the beginning. I think it's something we probably all did. I did it for a year. I worked for a TV station as an intern. I did it while I was in college, and then they hired me after college for a year to do a nighttime show they had. So it was only 2 nights a week, but it was for free, which is hard, but it's just important, because if you can be there not making a paycheck but still doing what you're supposed to be doing, taking ownership of that product, and running with it, doing a good job, and being a hustler. In our business, you definitely need to be ambitious and hustle. They'll remember that. And so that, yes, so I worked for free for a year for a television client, and obviously then things started to blossom. Other things came of that. Hired things. People would come in town. Yeah, they're this one of our sister stations is coming and doing this, and we've got to do a piece over at Kennedy Space Center, and that was one of my first paying jobs. It's a new station I had worked with here had a sister station that was coming to do a big launch at Kennedy Space Center, and they wanted to hire some PAs, and so that was one of my first paying jobs. And I met people on set, and I talked to Dan Brokaw, and that's not always going to happen, but I talked to people and other people in the industry that were in town, and people from out of town, and it's all about that, and just giving out your name. Even then, I had business cards, even as a PA 20 years ago, and I'm sticking with the business card idea in my back pocket all the time. But anyway, yeah, so that's how I started. And then I had a full-time job at the time with the theme parks as well. Met the people that I needed to meet there that were in marketing. That's hard to worm your way into where you need to go. Like when they want you to run a ride, but you want to run a camera, to find those people, it took some time, but eventually I impressed the right people. But yeah, you have to have patience, because nothing happens overnight. If it does, you're really lucky, because that's unusual. And so then I met the right people on there, and again started to diversify in clients, and started out as a production assistant. I did that for a couple of years until I got a production coordinator job, and then a production manager job, and now I've been producing for a while. But there's a hierarchy, just like everything else. Nobody starts at the top. I do get a bunch of resumes from film school students who are just graduating and expecting to make six figures right away.
Yes.
Probably not going to happen. That's the first thing they get upset about, is when you tell them, that they're not making six figures right out of the gate. We all had to work our way up. So, yeah.
I am so glad you said that. You have no idea, because that is a mentality these days. I did the same thing. My first year out of school, I said it on another interview that another guest we had on. My first year out of school, I made $6,000. I worked so much for free.
Yeah,
because you have to put your dues in. You have to put your time in. That mentality is not there anymore.
I probably made less than that my first year, because I worked at the TV station free, and then I was working. I had a part-time job at the theme park. I probably made about that. But yeah, that's what I made. Yeah. And then the next year that I didn't make any money was the first year that I opened up my company and had to get all kinds of insurance, because I was working not only to theme parks, but I was working for the Department of Defense, and I was working near aircraft and everything. So I had to get a lot of insurance. And I remember that year, I want to say I made like $700 because the insurance was so expensive. But that's it. By the next year, I was established, I had that, and, made a lot more the next year, and then it grew from there, obviously. But like you said, you got to pay your dues. I mean, I wish there was a way to pay it, but there's not. And I feel for them, because I was there. I was so frustrated when I would work, 14-hour days, and I'm like, I made $10 today. Like I was there, I did it. Like, it's frustrating, but it's just what you got to do to start out. I mean, you have to, from the beginning, show that you are hungry and a hustler, and right. willing to do what it takes, and people will recognize that, and you will get there. Like anything, It takes time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Honestly, this is the way I feel, and you tell me if you feel the same or if I'm wrong. Because I feel if someone comes in, especially straight out of school or something, they're like, oh yeah, I want to make $80,000 or 100,000 or whatever, and you're like, okay, but you just got out of school, right?
Right.
If it's always about the money, they will never be happy. They will never be satisfied because it's always about the money.
Yeah, yeah, that should not. Nobody should lead with that. In a job interview. Obviously, it's important. We all need to live, and the cost of living goes up. Yes, I get that, but you really have to have a passion for this because it's a lot of crazy hours. Like I work, overnights, early mornings, doubles. There's a lot. So you really need to enjoy what you do. They say you're going to be at work 1/3 of your life. I feel like it's more than that. So you just really need to enjoy it. Yes, money is secondary. You definitely need it. It's a huge part, but it's not the end all be all. You got to really enjoy this.
Do you take interns?
I feel like the people watching this broadcast probably are already in that mindset. This is something they want to do. So that's good. So we're speaking to a good audience here.
This is definitely geared toward especially them. Like, if anything, take this away from the whole thing. Like, go in there, do a good job, have a good attitude. The money's going to come. I promise you. The money's going to come. Don't make it about the money. Make it about you, that you're going to have a relationship for the long haul, and that money's going to come with it. I promise you.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
But going back, do you hire or do you take interns? Do you?
Yes. I try to only do 1 or 2 at a time because I want them to have a good experience. I want there to be enough because we're so seasonal in this business. Things ramp up and down. So I try to only have 1 or 2 at a time, and most of the time they come during the summer because that's when their school load is lighter and so forth. But yeah, we've had a few interns. They've gotten college credit. In fact, I had one intern work for me a couple of years ago, and his internship ended August 1st because that's when college was starting. But we got a big job on a military base starting August 6th for a week, and he's like, I don't want to leave right before this that I've been working for all summer. So he got permission from his school to extend it for a week and a half. Missed the first couple of days of class, and it was great. It was a great experience for them. I wrote a letter to the teacher. We thanked them. The teacher agreed that this is good life experience and business experience. So, they were flexible there, so that was great. But yes, we do internships.
Do you pay your interns?
Not at the beginning, but the second time around, yes. So if they're getting school credit, they're usually getting school credit, and it's usually like a month or 2. And then I've had interns come back for the next semester, but only like part-time. It's probably minimum wage. It's not, great pay, because they're usually getting credit as well. And it's, usually part-time, but we don't to start because we want to make sure that, they're going to be a good fit. So.
Right. No, the reason I ask because sometimes I get a bad rap because I don't. And it's not that I'm taking advantage of them. This is my philosophy.
Right. And I'm not asking anybody to do anything that I didn't do. Like I said, my interns only work without pay for like 2 months. I did it for a year. So, so I get it. I certainly get it. But like you said, money is not the first thing that we should be looking at when it comes to folks starting out. So. Right.
Yeah. Because my philosophy is like, I will work with you if you have another job. No problem. I don't need you here every day, 40 plus hours a week, because I know you have to live. But just give me a few days, right? We'll see how you work. We'll see how you do. We're going to put you on jobs, because if I'm putting you on jobs, you're meeting clients, you're meeting people in the industry, and then you want me to pay you for that on top of that, but I'm giving you everything, that's my philosophy. It's like, I will work with them. And my things are the same thing. Mine are maybe 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. I don't make it very long for them either. Because like I said, I know they have to work on top of that and make money to live.
Right. And, and I agree with what you're saying, but also, I want to make sure this is something they want to do, because they can get a summer job anywhere. I mean, they can wash cars and probably make more than I'm going to pay them that summer, but I want to make sure that this is something that they're interested in, because it's a good life, but it's not necessarily always easy. So I want to make sure that somebody's got that attitude that, I recognize in someone, that they're going to be, if not a lifer in production, at least, into it and something they want to do and something they're able to dedicate themselves to. So.
moving on to this, because now that you're established and you've grown, and like you said, the hours are crazy, right? You know that, I know that. How do you go about balancing your work life and your regular life, your at-home life? How do you balance that? How do you go about doing that?
That's so important and so hard, and something I'm still working on after 20 years. We don't have a 9 to 5. I mean, we don't have a 9 to 5 like arguably most people do, so, and when you own a business, you're never really off the clock, you're, my husband jokes that he has dinner with the back of my phone more often than me, because there's always stuff going on, especially when you have, 3 shoots happening. I'm not on set, but at any time, you probably have heard a couple dings during this interview. At any time, something could be happening. And so, yeah, so he's jokes that, he has a relationship with the back of my phone more than me, which at times is unfortunately true. But first off, you should warn your partner, because I have had PAs who have lost, relationships, boyfriends, girlfriends, or whatever, because they're like, what is this? You're gone, all night, every night for a week, it's different. It's different than most businesses. And so I certainly think you need to, make sure that anybody that's going to be in a relationship with you know what they're getting into. I got married 4 months before I entered this business. So my husband, Bob, has been there since the beginning. He's seen it. And he's seen it grow, and he knows, at the beginning, I wasn't as busy as I am now, and he gets that. But it's important to, let them know what's happening, but also set boundaries. Like, the out of office is such a great tool. Like, I feel much less guilty if I have an out of office on, if I've got to go do something, someone at least knows why I'm not responding to them. I've got a doctor's appointment or whatever. So that's important, but the boundaries are important. They can be hard in our business. I don't personally have kids. I have a stepson. For the people out there that are doing this full time and have kids, God bless them, because it is, the hours can be, like I said, weird. They can be a lot. They can be inconsistent. But your family is more important. It always will be that way, no matter how important work is, which, to me, hugely. I love what I do, but your family is always more important. So you just need to make sure you're not risking them or your relationship with them for the sake of work. And it's a tightrope for sure. Something I'm still learning 20 years into it. So.
Yeah,
but
I
it does
hear
help.
I am too. My wife is the one that keeps me balanced.
Yeah,
she's like, hey.
Bob's good about that too. He's good because I think without him, I'd probably have to have a counselor or a therapist, because I do a lot of venting. And you need someone outside of, that can look at it without any, bias. And I'll be like, am I crazy for thinking this? And most of the time he's like, no, you're right. That's wrong. Or sometimes he'll be like, yeah, that's kind of nuts. So, so he's like that too, but it helps that he's been around, since the beginning, since before. It's like Hollywood relationships. The actors that get together before they're famous, they seem to last better than, ones that have, better. So, but it's good to have that sounding board, but also someone that understands, like I said, he gets it, and he's seen the business grow. So I'm really fortunate, and he's seen me get busier and busier, and he remembers the days where we weren't making a lot of money. And so, he can be like, okay, we're doing well now, but yeah, I'm going to have dinner with your phone tonight. So trade-off. It's all about trade-offs.
So I'm going to wrap it up with you, but I would like you to just give us just a brief paragraph of what would you tell the person that's thinking about opening their business? What would you tell them?
I would tell them, make sure that you know what you want to do, because if you want to spend the time and money and paperwork and everything to get in a business, and you're like, I'm not sure that I wanted to do this from the beginning, you're not going to be happy. So make sure it's what you want. Be prepared to spend some time. Be prepared to not make money at the beginning, but be prepared that if this goes the way you work for it to go, you're going to be happy, and you're going to make a living, and hopefully you're going to employ other people, and and they're going to make a living, and you can't ask for more than that. Having a happy family that's doing what they want. Of course there's problems. There's always going to be problems in any business, any family. It's not a bed of roses all the time. But if 90% of the time you can make people happy and do good work and make a good living, then you've made it. I mean, that's the American dream, right? It's what everybody wants. And if you only listen to 2 pieces of advice during this whole thing, carry business cards everywhere and be nice. That's it. Carry your business cards everywhere and be nice. Those are my, if you listen to nothing else, remember those two things.
I love it. Stacey, thanks again. Thank you for your time. Hopefully we didn't take too much time out of your busy schedule this week, and we'll have to have you back on.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Like, it was like two friends talking, and like I said, we started at similar times in this, so we've had journeys that have crossed paths, and I love it. I love that we're still doing what we like. So thanks for having me, Dondi. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much, Stace. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. Stacey gave us some good pointers on building a successful video business, such as never put all your eggs in one basket. Diversify your abilities to your clients. Build good relationships. Be nice, and always carry a business card on you. Until next time, I'm Dondi Sanchez, and I thank you for watching Media Hub. Are you a filmmaker or content creator with a vision that demands the best? Then look no further than IPGRentals.com, the ultimate destination for audio, video, lighting, drones, and support gear for your productions. At IPG Rentals, we believe in the power of collaboration. Our gear becomes an extension of your creativity, bringing your vision to life. And with our tagline, Our Gear, Your Vision, we're not just a rental service, we're your production partner. Why choose IPG Rentals, you may ask? Easy. We bring quality, reliability, and an extensive range of top-notch equipment. From industry-standard cameras and audio equipment to state-of-the-art lighting and drones, our gear is meticulously maintained to ensure you get the best results every time. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.ipgrentals.com. Our gear, your vision.